Hey everyone, I'm Madison Eppelman and I will be presenting my persuasive speech on social media usage. I have the camera at a different angle this time from recommendations from the speech beforehand, so I'm going to try and get used to looking at the actual camera lens and not myself. So here we go. Today we face an enemy like no other, one unprecedented by the generations before us. It is one of the spiritual kinds, not able to be physically held or touched, but is growing in both numbers and power with every passing minute. It proves its power by not only dominating younger generations, but by making its opponent dependable and in need of its presence. That enemy is the notoriously and ironically named social media. When I say the word social media, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter fly through your minds. You may be thinking back to the last picture that you liked on Instagram or the last snap that you sent someone before coming to class. According to research conducted from 2008 to 2019 by Jay Clement, media is used by 79% of our population. That translates to roughly 259 million Americans in the US alone who have social media accounts. It is not a secret that social media has become an essential component of our everyday lives. It allows us to connect with people that may be thousands of miles away. It allows us to share humorous images with each other with hopes of making someone laugh. It also allows us to keep our loved ones updated on our day-to-day lives. However, it also creates a sense that there is some standard that we must all be living up to. It creates insecurity in who we are based on edited prototypes of what we see. It creates an unsatisfied feeling when we realize that we don't actually know those people that we interact with on social media. The enemy is not an easy beast to conquer, mainly because it can be hard to even identify it for what it truly is. Its weapon is its addictiveness, and many of us would like to turn a blind eye rather than to admit that we feel the need to use social media. Personally, I have Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook accounts. I use Facebook mainly to keep up with my family in California, just because they are far away. However, just saying that out loud seems a little disappointing, which I'll explain later. My Instagram and Snapchat accounts are used to keep up to date with my friends, both near and far, and I just want to make you all aware of my usage so I don't seem hypocritical when I'm proposing some strategies to address social media. So, now that we have addressed the enemy, let's talk about its effect and how we can combat it. So social media has become more than it was originally intended to be. Hence its name, it was meant to allow people to connect, to socialize with each other in light of the digital age with the recent decades. However, it has unfortunately taken a darker turn. People, especially my generation, have learned that they can use social media, specifically Instagram, as kind of a popularity game. If they edit a photo just enough or take pictures of their seemingly perfect life and post them, then they will find that they're liked by a lot of people, hence by the likes on their accounts. They've also realized that through Snapchat, you can supposedly really get to learn someone and build a foundation for a relationship with a significant other. I know that many of you can recall a time or multiple when someone's asked you for your Snapchat and they don't even know your last name or where you're from. And all jokes aside, it is our current reality. The rise in technology and social media use in the recent decade has been positively correlated with adolescents having depressive symptoms and suicide-related thoughts, especially among teenage girls, according to research conducted in 2016 by the Journal of the American Academy of Pediatrics. So it's not a coincidence that with the increase in social media platforms that there has been an increase in adolescents experiencing depression. And I just want to make note that correlation does not always prove causation. Even when correlation rates are high, it's often tedious to make a causation between two variables. And in our case, this is social media and mental health being that. So now that we have said that, let us delve into the data. I'd like to set up a scenario for you all to put things into perspective. So researchers from the nonprofit Common Sense Media have found that adolescents aged 12 to 18 spend 9 hours a day on average on social media alone. With that being said, we can say that within a week, the average teenager spends 63 hours or a little over 2.5 days consumed on their devices with social media. If you'd like to check where you stand with this statistic, there is a setting on Apple iPhones labeled Screen Time where you can view how much you spend on your phone throughout the week. It even allows you to set limits on how much time you spend on social media accounts like Instagram and Snapchat. For me personally, when I check my statistics on average, I spend 5 hours a day on my phone, with 3 of those hours dedicated towards social media accounts. So I'm a little bit under the average statistic nationally. So let's also consider that according to research at the University of Rochester and multiple psychology departments, that the rational part of the human brain does not fully develop until 25 years of age. A lot of people would say that a fully developed brain is synonymous with a matured personality. So if the developmental stage of the adolescent is being expended on social media, it would make sense that its utilization would have some sort of influence on the mind of its users. Now to the most pressing and upsetting statistic, and this is where I really want everyone to focus in on. In a federal survey published in the Journal of Abnormal Psychology, it was found that between 2005 and 2017, the number of adolescents aged 12 to 17 and young adults aged 18 to 25 who had depressive symptoms rose from 8.7% to 13.2%, so almost a 5% increase. So this study did not show any data on social media usage, but it did compare age groups. For those aged 26 and older, comparing even to the 50 and up age group, the rate of depressive symptoms remained constant throughout the entire decade that the research was conducted. This means that elder populations who are not the main users of social media, there was no increase or decrease in depressive symptoms. Again, correlation does not prove causation, but it can seem clear that social media users are associated with depressive symptoms. Now let's look at the introduction of the enemy into our society. Facebook was created in 2004, a year before this research was conducted. Twitter was created in 2006, a year after the survey was in effect. Instagram was introduced in 2010 in the middle of this study, and Snapchat came way later in the time frame around 2012. With the introduction of each social media platform increasing during the time frame of the study, it is not unusual that there is a positive correlation between social media usage and depression. With such evidence, it would only be natural to question how social media actually influences the mind of its users and is connected to depressive symptoms. As I previously stated, compared to past generations, the new day and age prefers communication via our devices because of its easy access and ability to connect with family and friends miles apart. However, there's something to be said about the long-forgotten traditional use of calling someone, or in cases where people are near you, face-to-face interactions. When we lose that genuine human connection with each other, we lose a sense of our identity. Soon enough, we become consumed by the idea of not what people think about us because of how we act around them, but of how we can make people think about us because of the way that we can manipulate our presence on social media. We become what we were attempting to avoid, socially isolated. We often feel when we're socially isolated from those around us, depressive symptoms can set in, as Caroline Miller from the Child Mind Institute proposes. The youth is slowly losing the ability to value and respect what all humans yearn for, a genuine and satisfying connection with one another. However, I think that we can offset the statistic and not fall to the power of numbers by identifying small strategies to interact with each other. So at this point, it kind of seems that any solution would be unfeasible just because social media is unfortunately addicting, just like alcohol and drugs, as it increases the dopamine levels in our brains. But I think with small measures that we can take back control. So here are my solutions. So the first one is to join a club. Almost every educational institution offers a multitude of clubs for students to get involved in. Clubs allow people to get together every once in a while and relate to each other on a personal level of interest. It allows students, especially of younger generations, to make friends and be reminded of the benefits that come with in-person interactions. So personally, I'm involved in the Operation Smile Club on campus, and USC offers over 500 clubs to get involved with. Within those hundreds, there's bound to be one that you feel especially connected to. So I really encourage you guys to get out there. Sorry, my cat. Second one would be don't ask people for their Snapchat as a way of getting to know them. As soon as you can get to know someone, as you could tell from my little point earlier made about Snapchat, I'm really keen on this proposal. Sending a person a picture of her face with a filter on it every hour is not a way of getting to know someone. Although my 18-year-old brother would like to disagree with me, I think that if you really want to get to know someone of interest, you should ask them for their number or even plan a date on the spot if you're truly and genuinely interested in them. It may seem intimidating, but it really is a lost tradition that has worked for the generations before us. The third proposal is to answer the phone. I found myself at times not wanting to answer the phone when people call me because I assume that whatever they have to say, they can send to me on text. But then I remember there are some people out there that genuinely like to just hear the sound of your voice and see how you're doing on your day-to-day life. When you can actually listen to someone's voice and carry out a conversation, I promise you that you will feel way more satisfied than you ever would just sending back a text to someone. And with that being said, also be the person to give other people a phone call. And then my last proposal and my most favorite is to shake each other's hands. It may be surprising, but college students don't really shake each other's hands because it appears too formal. For me, shaking hands is one of my favorite human interactions. However, I soon learned when I came to college by judgmental stares that you aren't supposed to shake hands here. And it's sad, I know. When you shake someone's hand, you initiate connection through physical touch, and that's something that you can't do on social media. So shaking hands doesn't have to be as formal as people make it out to be. Shaking hands is a way of greeting each other and acknowledging that someone's there. So I think that we should all be acknowledging each other more often. I know that my proposals may seem small, but if the youth engaged in them, I truly believe that they would have a lasting impact and remind people what it means to be a human again. So here's the thing. Social media, the unnervingly powerful giant, is overtaking our generations with every passing moment. Most of us use it and most of us would wish to submit to its power because of the benefits that come with it. However, such submission can quickly escalate into addictiveness. And for the youth, though, who are the main users, this addiction can often, unfortunately, turn into depressive symptoms and suicidal thoughts. But there is a way to gain back that control and offset the correlation between social media usage and depressive symptoms. Join clubs, ask people out, answer the phone, and shake each other's hands. These are things that I think that we should teach ourselves and teach our younger generations and our children to come. We've become too acclimated in this digital age that we have forgotten the simple human interaction behaviors. I truly believe that by making simple gestures that create in-person interaction, that we will soon realize that unsatisfying feeling that comes from sending someone a Snapchat or liking someone's post that we don't even know. Eventually, the enemy can fall and we can gain back control. So I encourage you all to use these little proposals and really encourage people around you to use them. So thank you all for listening. I hope you all are staying safe and healthy during this time, and have a great rest of your semester.